smiles to the world, we're hitting first base. Marty Lurie with friends, home run. You know the ways and the trends, the stories all with the match of the block. It's Marty and Friends. Marty and Friends.
All right, great to have you with us on this Memorial Day. And Eric is with us as well. Eric, nice to see you.
Great to see you, Marty.
Yeah. But obviously, the Giants played the Tigers this morning, and we're going to do the post game today. We got a good show for you. It is Memorial Day, and Eric and I will talk about Memorial Day and what it means to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very important day in our nation's history. It is a memorial. It's not just thanking people for their service.
Correct.
It's remembering the people who died. And
Yes.
The Giants have one player who I did a show on, Eddie Grant,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years ago. Eddie Grant was the first major leaguer to die in World War I. And I'll tell you that story. And there isn't, when you look at the Willie Mays catch in the Polo Grounds, if you look to the left, there's a monument to Eddie Grant. And when the Giants moved out in 1958 to San Francisco, they played their last game in late 57, obviously, and someone stole the monument.
Wow.
It wasn't found. And the Giants did not replace the monument in San Francisco until 2010. And when place the monument, it's out there by the Lefty O'Doul gate, and Dennis Snelling will be with us in a little while. He wrote a beautiful book about Lefty O'Doul, and has a new book out about the Whiz Kids, and we'll have Dennis on with us. But by the Lefty O'Doul gate, if you look to the left, you'll see the monument, the replica of the monument to Eddie Grant, who died trying to save the Lost Patrol in the forest in Germany in World War I. So the curse of Eddie Grant, let's say, they lost the statue, the plaque, and when they put it back, even if there was a replica, they won the World Series. So
there you go.
This is a very famous. So when you see the picture, when you look at the Willie Mays picture, look to the left. That's the Eddie Grant plaque. Well, that's that. All right. The Giants played the Tigers today to open up this first game of a 3-game series, and it was Hayden Birdsong on the hill today, and Montero, a right-hander for the Tigers. And first of all, if you're just joining us, the Tigers win the game 3-1. Another 5-hit effort by the Giants. Birdsong pitched relatively well today.
Mm-hmm.
He went 4 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, no homers, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. He's got excellent stuff. He's still a little rusty. It's still not perfect. Believe me, it's not perfect yet. But he gave him 4 1/3, and then they went to come and get him when he got in trouble in the 5th inning. And in that 5th inning is sort of when the game got away from the Giants, when the Tigers put up the 2 runs. And Eric and I will talk about it. But focusing on Birdsong, he did his job today. The stuff is there. He's got a bigger upside, I think, than Harrison. He's a better pitcher. He is a pitcher, where Harrison is more of a thrower. But today, the Tigers just got enough, and the Giants could only score 1 run, and they get beat 3-1. It's been a story we've been talking about for a whole week now, and really for the whole season. So, Eric, your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of talked it right off the bat. You got Birdsong, who gave you a good effort, even with Phil Cuzzy behind the plate. As you say, you knew there was going to be trouble, right, Marty? As soon as we found out Phil Cuzzy was going to be behind home plate, we knew that there was going to be some issues going on there. But Wisenhunt, he did well. The command with his fastball kind of wasn't there. But again, the story of the game, the Giants just can't get those runs or get the key hit to get those runs. They didn't strike out a lot, but when it came time for example, they had runners on first and second. They were able to get that one run in with they let it off with Matt Chapman getting a hit, and he was able to come across. again, you had opportunity, and unfortunately, Adames comes out and hits into a rally killing double play. That seems to be what's been going on lately with the Giants. They just can't seem to get those hits when it matters the most. It's very inconsistent, and it's tough, especially when you have an outing like Birdsong, because he did have a pretty decent outing. Granted, Miller, he came in, didn't quite get it done, had no command, and then, as you said, it kind of fell apart, and the Giants just couldn't do nothing afterwards.
Well, you can't make a mistake.
Right.
Give up a few runs, and it's trouble. Now they've been coming back all year and coming back, but they've hit a wall, and it's time to talk about it some more. This is the 1/3 mark of the season, Eric. This is game 54 today.
Right. This is one of your milestones that you normally talk about, Memorial Day,
Memorial Day and the game 54. By the way, a lot of comments about Eddie Grant and the story. So Jay, I appreciate those comments that you've made. And Jay says it was missing for over 40 years until it was claimed to be rediscovered in the basement of a New York City police officer. That was never confirmed. That was never confirmed. And he is memorialized with the Edward L. Grant Highway in the Bronx.
Interesting.
Yeah. Eddie Grant, it was a big story. He was an Ivy Leaguer, and he played second base. He played for the Phillies too, and he was a second baseman. And he would correct people with their grammar. There was a pop-up, he would say, I have it, rather than I got it, or something like that. So he was well known for that, and the Giants remembered him. So good, Jay. That's good. Good information. I appreciate that. A lot of other comments coming in.
Yeah, this is a good one from George. Says, will Whisenhunt be better than Harrison?
Harrison is in the big leagues, and Harrison has won in the big leagues. When Whisenhunt wins in the big leagues, then we'll be able to make a comparison. He's got the good changeup, the lefty changeup. He's a little bit all over the place, but he's having a big year at Sacramento. So I'd say the future is very bright for Whisenhunt. You'd like to see what he's got.
Absolutely.
But this one again, you're facing a guy, Montero. They're just not going the other way. As Rick Smith just texted me, the only guy that goes the other way is Flores.
Yes.
And he did in the 9th to get on. So the Giants lose 3-1. They get 5 hits. And I want to talk about Adames a little bit because, he has been the guy. We've talked about Chapman as well. Chapman at least will take a walk. He'll get a hit once in a while. He's not driving in a lot of runs.
Correct.
They've moved up to the 2 spot now. But for Adames, he hits in that 5th spot, which is a very important spot to hit in.
Yes.
Very important spot to hit in. So here he is in the 1st inning. It's 1st and 3rd, 2 out, and here comes Adames.
Right.
Plus the game open early, and he looks at a 3rd strike. Here comes Adames in the 4th inning, 2 out, nobody on, and he pops up to second base. Now the big inning, and this is the one that got me, in the 6th inning, Yaz grounds out to second. Yaz didn't have a big day today. He's got to keep the swing flattened out. I'm telling you, if he doesn't keep the swing flattened out, right field is now a problem. I don't care what you say about him, because Matos is lost. He's lost at the plate.
He is.
And the Matos, he messed up a play in the 1st inning that was a double, but it was a fly ball that he should have caught. So Yastrzemski goes 0 for 4. Not a good day for him. I'm telling you, and that pop-up swing is back.
Yep.
That line drive swing we're not seeing. All right, so he grounds out. Chapman then gets a base hit. Lee can handle the bat. He's got 14 doubles. He's got a couple of triples, 6 homers. But lately, you don't see the power from him.
Correct.
But he can flip those hits. He can.
He can.
Flip it the other way. He can flip it to center field. He'll take a pitch that's down in the dirt, and he'll flip it. And he flipped one, and now it's 1st and 2nd. And then Wilmer came up, and, of course, Wilmer does what Wilmer does, and that is he got a base hit.
He did.
So now it's 1st and 2nd. You're back in the game. It's 3-1 at that point. 3-1, yeah, because they scored in the fifth. So
Yep,
it's
because
3-1.
Matt Chapman scored on that single. Yep.
Yeah, so Chapman scores. You've now got first and second, and here comes Adames, and he hits a ground ball that's to short, and the shortstop steps on the bag and throws to first and double play, and you're out of the inning. So, and again, he killed him in that inning. He's killing him. He is. I'm telling you, he's literally killing him. And then in the ninth inning, Flores goes the other way, gets a base hit. Rick, he does. And here comes Adames. You're down 3-1. You've got your leadoff guy on in the ninth inning. We've seen this a million times. All right, time for the rally. You got Wade coming up as well.
Right.
And Adames hits a ground ball to short. The shortstop Sweeney makes a nice play, and they get the force out on Flores, who can't move at all, at second. And Adames is on at first, and Wade then looks at a call third strike. I just can't believe it. I can't believe what I'm seeing from Vermont Wade. Pop up to short, ground ball. He hit it hard. Hit the ball hard to Torkelson. He got him out unassisted, got a walk and a strikeout. Then Fitzgerald, who's 0 for 4, flies out to right, and that's the end of the game. And the Giants lose at 3-1. But the chances, I'm telling you, the chances were there, and he's killing him. So what do you do with Adames? Do you give him a day off? We haven't seen Koss. Is Koss still here? We haven't seen him, for a week. But what do you do with Adames?
You're going to have to. You have to. I mean, what was it last year? Didn't he lead the league in 3-run home runs last year? Didn't he have like something like 13 3-run jacks last year? He led the team in RBI. I think he had over 100 RBIs last year. So, you thought, hey, maybe was he going to get 100 RBIs this year? Probably not. But the guy has had opportunity after opportunity, and it's just not coming through. And I don't know what it is. Jeff Young made a tweet a couple of days ago talking about his bat swing. I guess the speed of his bat has reduced fairly dramatically. And is that an issue? I don't know, but you could see it. There's that low and away pitch, something that we saw with Schmidt last year, and even Fitzgerald. They just could not lay off those low and outside breaking stuff. And Adames is doing the same thing, and he's missing the stuff down the middle, and he's popping up a lot as well. So maybe he needs to take a day off because something isn't working right now, and maybe just that one day will help.
Look, Yastrzemski's got to pull it together.
He does.
Change that swing. I'm telling you, that pop-up swing is back. He's got to start lining the ball again and lining it the other way. That's now all of a sudden that's a problem.
Yep.
In the field. Chapman is Chapman. He's going to be a streaky hitter. You don't know where you hit him second, you hit him fifth. You don't know where to hit him. Ramos needed a day, and they gave him a day, which he needed. He's still probably one of their best hitters. Lee does his thing. He'll slap the ball around and get on base. Flores does his thing, but then it goes dead.
It goes dead
with Adames and Wade
and Bailey
and Fitzgerald. Bailey has, maybe his last swing looked a little better, but my God, I don't know. If he'll draw a walk, you're thrilled that he can draw a walk. And I'll tell you, behind the plate, he's no picnic behind the plate. The ball went past him today. I don't know what it is.
That one knee. You go to one knee?
Something.
Right.
But the bat is not there. Maybe Huff. Look, this is a team that, they're a game behind the Dodgers. With all that said and done, John Madden said winning is the best deodorant. So they are only a game back.
Right.
But maybe Huff has got to play more. They need the bat. They need the bat right now. They're wasting a lot of good pitching. Look, they lose 3-1. It's the same game every night.
Mm-hmm.
Either they're going to get ahead by a run or two and hold on with the great bullpen, or they're going to have to scrap back. Those days of being down 6-1 and coming back, I think those days are over.
Yeah, I miss the days of April, right? Because look at what we got here. You got Adames, who's now batting 205. Wade, 161. Bailey, 172. Today, Matos was in there, and he's batting 147. It's not getting it done. It's just not.
No,
And
no,
these
we can
guys,
talk about the hitting all day long,
yeah.
but it's obvious what's going on here. And the thing is, the bench. You got to
Mm.
have a bench,
Mhm.
and that's where the Randall Grichuk's of the world, the Tommy Phams of the world, guys like that, and Posey's got to, and Zach Manassian, they've got to deal with this. You can't keep playing games like this.
No.
The 1/3 mark of the season. What's their record now, Eric? Now the one.
Let me take a look real quick. They are now, where is it at? Oh, they're not. 31-23. That's where they're at right now.
All right, so that's a third. That's on a pace for 94.
Mm-hmm.
But after 12-4, that would make them 19.
They're like a 500 team. They're like a 500 team ever since that.
19, something like
Right.
that. Something like that. So that's who they are. Your record will tell you who you are. So
Right.
pitching is, Birdsong did well. He's got quality stuff. He does have quality stuff.
He
It's just
does.
a question of getting his stuff together. Miller was very disappointing today. They brought him in early. They brought him in to face lefties. See, they used Ray and they used Harrison against Washington.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lefty-oriented team here in Detroit. So they had to bring Miller in the middle, because normally if it was a normal-looking team, Rodriguez could have come in.
Right.
If they didn't want to use him again. You can't keep using him every day. But Miller went into Rodriguez's spot, and Miller could not get it done. I mean,
No.
take that hitting apart a little bit. He comes in with first and second, and right away he walks a guy, gives up the hit to Green, which is a 2-strike hit that Green hit to right field.
Correct.
Like hit, then they're throwing the ball around like crazy. A couple of runs have scored, and then they
Yeah.
have to walk Torkelson, and luckily they got out of it with a DP to McKinstry. But Miller came in and just did not do his job. He walked Keith and then gave up a 2-strike hit to a lefty, and that was the end of the game right there. So not good. Not good. 2 strikes to Green. He had him to put him away, and he couldn't put him away. I think the Tigers are pretty good.
They are. They're 35-20. I think they got the second best record in baseball, if I'm not mistaken. They're playing really good baseball.
They had to use 5 relievers today.
Yeah.
To finish it. And that's because Skubal gave him a great game yesterday. So tomorrow it's Flaherty and Webb got whacked around his last start. And he's going to be facing lefties all the time. Let's see if they take him the other way. And, that changeup there and that sweeper is going to be coming into the lefties.
It is.
So we're going to have to see how he handles that, maybe more 4-seamers away. And let's see if they take it the other way. This is going to be a good matchup. And Jack Flaherty for the Tigers tomorrow. So that's the game today. The Giants lose at 3-1, and it's a game that obviously they have chances to get back in and to win.
And the defense kind of was slacking a little bit today too. You had Matos in left field, Bailey, as you'd mentioned it, behind the dish, receiving the ball in from that throw from Matos. I thought he could have made a good play on that, and he just kind of olayed and didn't even try to run after it got past him. I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here.
The ball went all over the place, and runners went to second and third. 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Adames 0 for 2, and Flores 1 for 2. So there was some action getting on with Chapman and Lee, but the 4, 5, 6 guys. And the Wade thing, again, I don't think they're going to arbitrate with him, or no matter what his years are, free agency. I don't see him coming back next year. So it's time I think it's time.
Yeah, to make some hard decisions with first base.
Well, as I said, you're only a game back. So, you're in the mix with St. Louis. You're in the, the loss column. You're in there with everybody who's got a shot. So that, let's not go off the cliff here. A lot can happen.
Right.
They're still in the middle of everything, with this pitching, and they'll never be out of it. But you got to I'm looking at this lineup, and it's just, there's things in there a third of the way through the season that make you realize something's got to change. And you can't rely on Flores to carry you for
No.
62. Well, someone asked, will he be an all-star? Yeah, I think he
Oh
will
yeah,
be.
yeah. I saw that. Where is he at? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was Jay was that saying something about being an all-star, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because let's look down the lineup. You tell
James.
me, other than Flores, who's going to be an all-star in this team? Maybe a reliever.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
maybe not.
Maybe
It's not
Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray will probably be your pitcher
Robbie
for
Ray.
yep.
Yeah, Robbie Ray will be an all-star for sure. And Webb, if he pulls it together a little bit more, he's got a shot. But they don't have a reliever, even though they're terrific, because you don't take eighth inning guys.
Right. You
You
don't.
know, you're probably not going to take Randy Rodriguez. You know, it's all the closers that get the job.
The closers and the starters. And that's speaking, I was looking at the numbers yesterday. Giants are 4th in all the league in pitching, but they're 24th in batting average and 20th in OPS. So that just kind of gives you a little synopsis of where the club is as far as where their strengths and their weaknesses are.
Let's see what Melvin Dallas says. Melvin was asleep at the wheel in the 9th. Isn't Wilmer a double play risk? Why not pinch hit? Well, you want him to hit.
That's the problem.
If you do that, you have 2 on, no out, and Ramos left on the bench. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Flores, you want to hit. Can you hit for Adames? Not. You just really can't. Can you run for Wilmer? Maybe you could. You know, Cost could come in and run for Wilmer. That's not an impossible move. You're going to let Wade hit against the righty. And then for Fitzgerald, you could, if you haven't used Ramos, if you had 2 out and Fitzgerald up, you could put Ramos in the pinch hit at that point if you haven't used him to run.
Right.
If you've used Cost to run and you still have a runner on first and 2 out and Ramos up, and then if you want to hit for Bailey with Huff, you could do that.
Yes.
You know, if you got that far down. So, yeah, Dallas, that's good. That's good second
Yeah, he
guess.
meant pitch run. He meant not pitch hit, but pinch run for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know that. Yeah, you're not going to pinch it for Flores, but you could pinch run for him.
Right.
If it was a 1-run game, for sure. But they do have some bullets on the bench, and you don't want to end the game with your best hitter, Ramos, sitting on the bench.
Sitting on a bed, never even got an at bat today.
Yeah, I think Dallas, that's a good point. That's a good point. All right. Mitchell and Ness, early June, Wade will be gone. Not impossible. Not impossible.
He also says maybe the team will be 500 at the break.
Well, that could be. You know,
you're right. Baseball has a funny way of doing that, right? Clubs will exploit your weaknesses. So yeah, you got to be careful because the way the team is hitting right now is a little bit weird. And get ready, Marty, because I already could hear it. I hear the rumblings. They're going to start criticizing the hitting coach rather than just putting the focus where it should be. And it should be the focus on the hitters themselves. And when they get in the box,
you know, they don't go the other way.
Right.
I'm looking at my scorecard today, fly ball, ground out, you know, and it's all sort of rolling over, trying to pull the ball and that kind of stuff. I mean, Lee, you know, when he makes an out, it's pepper with the second baseman.
It is.
And as Mitchell and Ness says, the pitching can't be perfect every game. That's not.
Yes.
It's not going to work.
Right. Because
it's not going to work.
You put the pressure on the staff, right? Oh, can't make a mistake. You said that. If they come in with that mentality, now you're not playing loose. You're playing a little bit more tight, and then you can make more mistakes doing that.
Yeah. So, you know, as I said, you know, they're still right there with everybody else.
They are.
When you have pitching like this, and it could get better. If you can do something with this hitting, good things can happen. But right now, I mean, you get past. I mean, I'd say even Flores, you know, with Adames, Wade, Fitzgerald, Bailey, and Matos, you know, forget it.
Yeah, they're big. Again, you're having that. That's 4 guys in your lineup.
From Wade, 0 for 3 with a walk. Fitzgerald 0 for 4. Bailey 0 for 2 with a walk, and Matos 0 for 3. So that's your last 4 batters. in the game.
Right. And that, whew, and again, you're just not getting anything done. I'm going to try to take a look. His last 5 games, not including today. 2 hits. He had no hits today, right? No hits, just a walk. So in the last 6 games, he's got 2 hits.
Who's that? Bailey?
Lamont Wade.
Oh, Lamont Wade, yeah. And he's a different player. I'm telling you, the guy's a different player. And Woes says they changed the swing and all this kind of stuff. He's a different player.
Why would they change his swing? Because it seemed like his swing was
they're
okay.
trying to make his swing the way it used to be, because over the winter he changed his swing. But the bat speed is down, and even though he's taking his pitches and he's getting deeper in the count, he's still not hitting with any power.
None.
And Bailey has absolutely no power at all. He had a fly on the left today. Got excited. Fitz is not hitting home runs. Fitz is not making contact. So whatever, we know that.
Yeah,
we know that.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. It was a typical Giants game of late, 3-1, and they had chances. And as I say, Adames had his shots to make things happen. And look,
he gets paid the big bucks to do that, right, Marty?
He just will not follow that breaking ball on the outside.
Ooh.
He won't. He just will swing at that soft stuff on the outside
every time.
Get a fastball up and over the plate, he'll hammer it.
Mm-hmm.
He'll hammer it. But that soft stuff, and then they'll jam him inside, and that's the end of them. So disappointing.
Yes.
All right. Very important show today. It is Memorial Day. Father's Day is coming up. When I did the post-game shows, we did some things like this, but we did it all the time on the pregame, and that is we brought you some baseball books. And people loved it. So today I thought we should do that. And we have an author with us, Dennis Snelling, and he's going to join us right after a break.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote a book about the Whiz Kids, the Philadelphia Phillies of 1950, how they took the pennant, lost the World Series, and changed Philadelphia baseball forever. And they really did. This is a franchise that won 1 pennant in 1915 up till 1950. And they won the pennant in 1950 with great young players, and Robin Roberts and Kurt Simmons and players like that, Bubba Church, who you don't remember, but people like that. And it's a good story. So Dennis is a very good author. He's written stuff about Lefty O'Doul, about the Pacific Coast League, about Johnny Evers, the second baseman for the Tinkers, to Evers to Chance fame. So Dennis is with us. So we're going to talk to him about his book, and then I'm going to, with Eric, we'll bring you about 5 more books, not with authors, but I'll show you the book. We'll tell you about the book. And it's the things we used to do. So let's take our break, and we'll come back with Dennis Snelling, and I'll hold it up.
There it is, the Whiz Kids.
The Whiz Kids.
All right.
All right, so we'll be back right after this. Fans, I heard from Gene Bagato, with Memorial Day just around the corner and the unofficial start of summer, a great place to get away not far from the Bay Area is the Sonoma Coast. And a great destination up on the coast, you know it, is the Tides in Bodega Bay, which not only offers a great seafood restaurant with waterside views, but also a fabulous inn with large rooms and a newly updated swimming pool and a hot tub spa just minutes away from the fabulous beaches and Sonoma wine country. So if you're looking for a vacation destination not far from the Bay Area, you really need to look no further than the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in beautiful Bodega Bay. Fans, Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is the Senior Managing Director of Bridge Bank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheadle, Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridge Bank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it. All right, nice to have you back. It is a Memorial Day. It is Sunday. The Giants lose 3-1 to the Tigers, 1-5-1 for the Giants. Matos the error on a throw that Bailey could have done a better job. Tigers get 1 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, and they get 3 runs. They throw a starter for 5 innings who gives up a hit. And after that, the bullpen parade came in, and the Giants couldn't do any more damage. 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. That's it for the whole day for the Giants. All right, Dennis Snelling joins us. Dennis, it's great to have you with us. I'll hold up the book again. And we used to do this, of course, every week on our pregame show, and Dennis has been on with us before. But you have a book that's out. It's called The Whiz Kids. It's put out by Nebraska. And, of course, we support our local bookstore up in Montclair, and that is the Book Tree. Dennis, the Whiz Kids, I remember them very well. As I said in the introduction, they won a pennant in 1915, the Philadelphia Phillies, and didn't win another one till 1950. But the story's a good story. Why this one for you?
Well, I think you kind of hit on it right there. You're looking for a good story as an author and a topic you can kind of explore. And you look at this team and how unusual it was in a lot of ways. You had a pitcher who ended up winning the Most Valuable Player award, who was 33, could hardly throw to break a pane of glass, and who had an undertaker as his personal pitching coach. You had a first baseman who was nearly murdered the previous year, making a comeback. You had another first baseman who was breaking into learning how to play left field in the majors. You had a left-hander, Curt Simmons, who was signed to the team after the Phillies bust their team up to a little town called Egypt in Pennsylvania to have the Phillies take on a high school team to basically give Simmons a tryout. You had a manager who was a college professor, and you actually had coaches who coached and taught, whereas in those days, quite often, they were just buddies of the manager. And you had a team that had, as you pointed out, had almost no success from 1883 when they were founded until 1950, with about a 3-year span around that 1915 season when they got to the World Series. And then it's like, okay, they had a lot of young talent. Their center fielder, Richie Ashburn, went to the Hall of Fame. He was actually signed as a catcher originally. And Robin Roberts, and you had some other really good players. You had a dramatic pennant race where they led by 7.5 games with less than 2 weeks to go, but then lost 3 pitchers, Curt Simmons to military, Bubba Church, who got hit in the eye by Ted Kluszewski, and Bob Miller, who, favoring his back, hurt his shoulder. So they lost 3 starting pitchers and collapsed, and it went right down to the dramatic final day in extra innings for them to pull it out. So you've got, and then the question is, they never repeated what happened. And the whole idea of how are teams built? This team was built very deliberately by building a farm system, and then it produced, and then it didn't. And what happened? Why didn't they become the Dodgers of the 1950s? And so it's kind of exploring. The book's kind of split into sections of what happened building the team, then that 1950 season in the middle, and then at the end, what happened afterwards.
Yeah, Dennis Snelling is with us. The book is called The Whiz Kids, and Dennis just explained exactly why the story is significant. This is a franchise where the owner was kicked out of baseball in the early 40s for gambling, and Judge Landis threw him out. And that's how the DuPont family, the Carpenters, got into it and sort of saved baseball for the Philadelphia Phillies. In those days, the A's were the big team in Philadelphia. But it's an interesting story of the Phillies and how they put this team together. Eddie Waitkus is the first baseman. These are part of baseball stories that we find fascinating. He was stalked by a frantic fan, and her name was Ruth Steinhagen. And Eddie Waitkus is a nice guy, and he's in Chicago, and they're at the team hotel, and he gets a note from downstairs that says, "I would like to see you or talk to you," something along those lines. and Dennis will correct me if I'm wrong here. And, he's a young man and he's, on the road, what have you. And he says, sure, it's a fan. So, and this is like The Natural, the book that, this is the story of The Natural with Roy Hobbs. She comes in the room and shoots him, and then she's taken away and she goes to trial and is declared mentally unfit and is put in a mental hospital and then is released a few years later. But in her room, she had pictures of Eddie Waitkus and all this stuff. That's the first baseman for the Phillies, who is the first baseman. We complain about Lamont Wade. How about your first baseman who just got shot? So tell us a little bit about Eddie Waitkus, because that's a fascinating sort of story of this team.
Well, Waitkus was one of the best defensive first basemen, maybe in the history of the game. His reflexes were amazing. He was a tremendous first baseman. Didn't have much power, but he was a pretty good hitter. He usually hit right around 300 every year. And yes, this woman, Ruth Steinhagen, had become attached to him when he was still with the Cubs. He was traded from the Cubs to the Phillies before the 1949 season. And she basically planned for 2 years to kill him. She was 19 years old. And when he went to the Phillies, that didn't change her feeling about it. She originally was going to attack him the first time they came into town, but the hotel was sold out. And so the second time they came to Chicago, she checked into the hotel. She had already bought a rifle and was actually planning to stab him and then kill herself. And she bought a rifle, and the friend who was with her at the time said, the bullets were extra, I think. The gun was $21, he walked in saying, what is this about? And she goes, I have a surprise for you. You're going to die, and shot him in the chest. And she panicked and ended up calling the front desk, because he kept moaning and asking why he shot her. So he would have died right there. He almost did anyway. So he missed the last half of the 49 season, but came back in 1950 and had a great year. And,
wow.
But he never really recovered mentally or emotionally from that. And to have her released after a couple of years, that was tough on him too.
Yeah. He ended up with the Orioles. That was his last team. I remember that the first year of the Baltimore Orioles. Eddie Waitkus was there. Dennis Snelling is with us. The book is The Whiz Kids. The end of the season, though, again, this is a team that the owner was kicked out 6 or 7 years ago, and they haven't won a pennant since 1915. Now they have a shot to win the pennant, and it goes down to the last day. And look, I was in Brooklyn. I don't remember it. I was too young at that point. But this was the Brooklyn Dodgers, the boys of summer, and the Philadelphia Phillies fighting it out to the last day. What happened?
Well, and that was one of 3 years in a row they fought it out to the last day. In 49, if they had beaten Brooklyn, that would have knocked them into a playoff with the Cardinals. And then 50, and then in 51, of course, they were playing on the last day of the season. And if the Dodgers hadn't won that, then the Giants would have gone right in without the Bobby Thompson moment would never have happened. But in 50, it went down to the last day of the season because there was really no one other than Robin Roberts and Jim Constanti that Sawyer had any faith in. And it went into extra innings. There was a home run hit by Pee Wee Reese that landed on a ledge in the outfield and spun and didn't fall down. And Del Ennis could only watch as Reese ran him out around the bases to tie the game 1-1. And he said, if I'd thought about it, the ground rules, I should have thrown my glove at it. It would have only been a triple, but he didn't think of it at the time. And I think that was only the second time a ball like that, a hit like that had happened. So it goes into the ninth inning, and the Dodgers get 2 runners on with nobody out. So they have player Cal Abrams, who only started, I think, 6 games that year, but he had played that day, and he's at second base, and 2 on, nobody out, and the Dodgers are at home. So if they score, it's over. And now there would be a playoff similar to what happened with the Giants and Dodgers the next year. There would have been a best of 3 playoff for the 1950 pennant. So it wouldn't have eliminated them, but they'd lost, I think, 8 of 9. And for all intents and purposes, people thought it was a must win. So Duke Snider hits a ball to center, and Richie Ashburn's playing in center field and did not have a reputation for a strong throwing arm by any means. And so Milt Stock, the third base coach, who ironically had played for the 1915 Phillies, sent Abrams around home. And but there were 3 things that Stock didn't take into account. One, that the Phillies, even though it was unlikely, they had arranged their infield for a possible bunt. And so the second baseman was playing close to the bag, which meant Abrams couldn't get a big lead, and also meant that Ashburn was playing shallow. And then the third thing was Stan Lapata was catching versus Andy Semenick, who had a broken bone in his ankle and was still trying to play, but they had Lapata in a catcher. So, but Stock saw a chance to win the pennant, to send it into the playoffs right then. So Ashburn throws, ends up making the throw of his life, shocked everybody, and nailed Abrams probably 10 feet from home plate. There's a picture of the play in the book. Abrams never even got close to home plate. And afterwards, Bert Schotten moaned that, Ashburn never threw out anybody in his life before. Well, that was one that was kind of irrelevant. And 2, I did look into this, and Ashburn had actually thrown 4 players out at the plate in his career to that point, including he'd thrown out Eddie Stanky just a week before against the Giants. So maybe Schotten should have had his scouting report updated a little bit, but it was just a dramatic thing. So that just sent it into extra innings. And then Dick Sisler, whose dad, George, one of the legendary hitters of the game, was actually at the game. He was a scout for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Right. And he watched as his son hit a 3-run home run that essentially clinched the pennant for the Phillies. And it was just a tremendous dramatic game. It wrung everything out of him. And it was kind of interesting how the September must have seemed like 3 years long to the Phillies. And then the World Series, there were no off days between. And so the 4 games, they were over in just a little more than 72 hours. And the Phillies got swept and lost 3 of the games by 1 run.
Yeah. Well, boy, what a story. And Milt Stock was the third base coach. I didn't know about the Eddie Stanky situation, but Eddie Stanky's, Milt Stock's daughter married Eddie Stanky.
Interesting.
A little bit of trivia there,
yeah.
I think. But so the Phillies win, and now they got to play the Yankees. And Jim Constanti is a very famous name in Phillies history. He was a relief pitcher, and he won the MVP. And his pitching coach was an undertaker, and he ended up having to start the first game and pitched a great game.
He did,
and they got beat. Didn't they get beat like 1-0, something like that?
1-0. He went 8 innings and only gave up the 1 run. And he had been a starter in the minors, but over the last, he hadn't started a game in a couple of years. And again,
like
Robin Roberts
making Ryan Walker the opening start. Giants,
It's make him start.
That's how crazy it was.
Yeah. Well, he had since Robin Roberts had just pitched 10 innings for the season finale, he couldn't come back to him. So he said he was looking for something different for the Yankees to look at. Constanti again, forkballs, changeups, breaking stuff. Something the Yankees hadn't seen. He was harkening back to when Howard Empke had started for the A's in 1929, struck out 13 guys, even though he also couldn't throw the ball very hard. And it almost worked. If the Phillies had hit, I think he only gave up 4 hits and went 8 innings and only 1 run, but they lost 1-0.
Sounds like the Giants.
It does.
Yeah.
Where the Giants season is going right now. But,
people may wonder about the Undertaker. He was a next door neighbor of Constanti's, and he was a great bowler apparently. And so he just started thinking about, hey, the spins you can put on a bowling ball, why couldn't you do that with a baseball? And they started working out, and this guy actually erected TV antennas on the outside of town so he could watch Constanti on the road, and they talked a lot. So,
Wow.
and he would come visit him every once in a while. They would get in a slump. He was serious. Andy Skinner was the guy's name.
That's incredible. A Undertaker bowler helping a MLB pitcher. That's incredible.
And I've heard stories that Robin Roberts actually asked him for advice a couple of times. So
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great story, and it's a really good book. And Dennis is a fabulous writer, and he really captures the essence of baseball. So, what happened to the 1950 Phillies? They did come close in 51, obviously, and that was a big game to end the season when Jackie Robinson made some fabulous play and hit a home run to
right.
keep the Dodgers in the playoff race. But what happened to this team? Because they had Robin Roberts, one of the greatest of all time, and young Kurt Simmons, and Ashburn, and Ennis, and Seminick, and LaPata, and Granny Hamner, and Willie Jones. You know, what happened?
Well, it's never one thing, as you can expect. And I think a lot of it was they tried things that worked in the 40s, signing bonus babies, building a farm system, etc. And then and they gambled a lot on players, and it worked. They kept trying to do the same thing, and it didn't work. And a couple things, not recognizing how the world shifted on April 15th, 1947, the baseball world, when Jackie Robinson broke in. They were very slow. It wasn't until the 1954, around when they started thinking, well, maybe we need to scour the Negro leagues for players. And by then, it had been pretty well picked clean. They kept signing bonus babies, and they didn't pay off. They really didn't generate anything out of their farm system in the early 50s. And so I think it was a combination of not recognizing the change in the baseball landscape, and then the things they did do that were working didn't work afterward. And you can't blame them in some ways if you do something and it's successful. It's tough to move away from that, but they didn't do that, and the other teams kind of passed them by. They ultimately did not integrate until 1957 on the major league level.
Was it John Kennedy?
Yes, John Kennedy.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow.
That was the first. Well, they had trouble with Jackie Robinson. Look, her pennant.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You know, they told Jackie not to come to the hotel, don't play, and put pressure on him. You know, Philly was not kindly to the African American player.
And that plagued them, even when they tried to sign black players later. That reputation hurt them. There were players they lost out to.
Look at Richie Allen. You know, what Richie Allen went through. Now, of course, he was in Little Rock, but, you know, Richie Allen went through that as well. But this Philly franchise ended up losing, like 23 in a row in the early 60s. Then in 64, they get Gene Mauch. He takes over early 60s. And 64, looks like they're going to win the pennant. Again, here come the Phillies, and they blow a 6.5 game lead with 12 to go.
It was almost a carbon copy of 1950, except they didn't win on the last day. And and the guy who knocked them out, really essentially knocked them out, was Kurt Simmons in 64. On like 3 days before the end of the season, he shut him out. Kurt Simmons was 16-2 against the Cardinals in his first 18 decisions after they dropped him. And they dumped Simmons and Robin Roberts, got nothing for them. They, like the Phillies in 50, ran out of pitching in 64. And meanwhile, Robin Roberts and Kurt Simmons, between them, won 27 games that year.
Yeah.
And
Robin Roberts reinvented
he was
himself
in Baltimore.
With the Orioles, he was terrific. He was a tutor for Jim Palmer. And Kurt Simmons was a great left-hander who I always remember. That's why I like these baseball stories. I always remember Kurt Simmons because he cut his toe off with a lawnmower. Come on, that was the story about Kurt Simmons. But the Phillies, Dennis, you really captured it in the era of Phillies baseball. That was not a hopeless era. It had hope in
No.
it because they still had some stars, but they couldn't put it together. That Steve O'Neill was a manager, Mayo Smith was a manager, Eddie Sawyer. As I said, Eddie Sawyer, when he lost the first game of the year, he quit, said, "I'm 49, I'd like to live to be 50." And that's when Gene Mauch took over at that point and had a great career. So it's all in there. It's all in there. If there was one part of this book that was a sort of interesting for you that maybe you didn't know, what would that be?
Well, I would say it was probably the era after they won was probably the era I knew the least about. And it was interesting to me to write about what happened to them, why they didn't repeat, and some of the players that they had. And then, there's a whole chapter essentially on the rest of the career for Simmons and Roberts. And it was very interesting how their careers wound down. And then they became great friends, even though they were opposites in so many ways. And I think realizing how dramatic that September was, I mean, I knew it went down to the last day, but how everything just kind of worked against them, I think those were probably some things that I learned quite a bit about.
Yeah, I didn't realize, again, in hearing the story from you, that they had had so much trouble down the stretch. I always knew it went down to that last game and the dramatic last play and everything else, but I didn't realize that it was a sort of a little carbon copy of '64.
It was.
Good to know. Well, this is great. I'm glad to have you on.
Well,
As I said, the book is out. You can get it at any of the normal outlets, I'm sure.
yep.
And then it's Nebraska Press. And again, we support the book tree up in Montclair. So nice having you on.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great talking to you again, Marty.
Yeah. Any new projects for you? What's next for you?
I have a couple ideas that I'm playing around with. I'm kind of fascinated with the early years of the Los Angeles Angels, the expansion team. And
Okay.
you had Bo Belinsky and Dean Chance. You had a team they
Albie.
kind of created had to be created on the run almost.
Yeah.
And, really the first expansion team. Washington came in at the same time, but they really came in with they had a ready-made stadium, ready-made, and the players switched around, but it wasn't quite the same as the Angels had to build from scratch in about 2 weeks.
That's a good one.
When Autry came and then by the expansion draft. So I've been starting to do some interviews on it. What it'll turn out to be, I don't know yet. It's still pretty early.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Charlie
nice.
Finley. Charlie Finley wanted that
He was
franchise.
trying to get him. Bill Veeck was trying to get him.
Yeah, and of course, they came in with Gene Autry, who was the
Right.
cowboy. So Charlie Finley came in with Roy Rogers.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, he came in with a cowboy too. It was Roy Rogers, and yeah, he didn't get the franchise because they knew how nutty he was. But then he ended up getting the A's when Arnold Johnson died. But yeah, interesting. That's a good one. I like Albie Pearson. I met Albie Pearson.
A little trivia: Ken Hunt, their center fielder. He was stepfather. He was stepfather to Butch Patrick, who played Eddie Munster in the Munsters, and actually got on an episode of the Munsters at one point when Herman was going to become a pitcher, and Ken Hunt
I think I remember the episode.
Played a catcher.
Bill Rigney, Jim Fregosi. They had some players.
They did. Leon Wagner,
the second baseman, Bobby Knopp.
Yeah, they had a lot of
there. No, I remember that one well. That was a good one. Well, that's fun. That's good, Dennis. That's a good one. Yeah, I could talk to you about that one for a while. All right. Be well, and it's a pleasure having you on.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, Dennis.
Okay, that is Dennis Snelling. How'd you like that?
That was great. That's
a good story. Oh, good. Amber is a great show. Thank you, sweetheart.
Yep. Jay, he liked that the Roy Rogers. That sounds like a typical Finley move, right?
Yeah, no, he wanted that team, and he brought in Roy Rogers, so that's my cowboy. Yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh.
there's so much in baseball. I will take a break and we'll come back. As I said, the Giants lost 3-1.
Mm,
They didn't hit it all. 5 hits today, 4 chances with runners in scoring position. Birdsong 4 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs. Not great, but you
mm.
could tell that he's got the good stuff. The
He's
stuff
got the
is
stuff.
there.
Yep.
Stuff is there. Hicks gave him a good inning.
Hicks
Hicks
look
was
well.
Hicks is an inning, and
Mhm.
Hicks does not throw the slide. Don't throw the slider, just the heat. Keep
Just
throwing the heat, and then if you throw 9 fastballs, then throw the slider.
there you go.
That slider is hittable. It's
Right.
hittable, and that's the issue. But yeah, he came in and gave him a decent inning. Bevins did his job, gave up a long blast to Riley Green, but that ball was held up in the wind. That would have gone out.
That would have gone out right to the wall. Yeah.
Well, 3-1 is what happened, and they brought in Tommy Canley, the changeup guy, and
Hmm.
of course he went right through the Giants. Through his
I
chunky
remember him
stuff.
with New York last year. That's all he threw. Just the
He threw
change up,
60
change up,
pitches
change
in a
up.
row. Every
Yeah.
one was a changeup.
Yeah.
60 in a row. You knew it was coming. Yastrzemski knew it was coming. He still rolled over on it. Chapman popped it up to short, and
Hmm.
then Lee, who unless he gets a single, plays pepper with the second baseman or
Yeah.
the first baseman, and they got him. That was the 8th inning, and the closer came in. But I like the comments earlier about the 9th inning. I kind of agree with that. You could be more aggressive.
With
Be
the
more
pinch runner.
aggressive, Bob Melvin. Yeah, that whoever made that comment.
It
I
was
forgot.
Dallas Heilicker.
That was a good. That's a good. That may
Good
be
job,
the.
Dallas.
Yeah, that was a good comment because again, you're going to let Flores hit. You could run for him, but once there's one out and Adames on first and Wade and Fitzgerald coming up,
It's
I want Ramos's bat in there somewhere,
right.
somewhere.
Right. And then, well, here's maybe we'll talk about that after the break. Maybe talk about maybe Casey Schmidt getting more reps at first base.
Yeah, yeah. You could have Wade Schmidt hit for Wade
Hmm.
at that point, even if it's righty. Even if it's righty. Maybe not. Maybe Wade is so good on the split. But to have the game end with Ramos on the bench in a 3-1 game, I don't
Doesn't
like
feel
it.
well. Doesn't feel good.
I
Doesn't
don't
feel
like
like it
it
was
because you're playing into Bailey also, who
right.
can't hit anyway, and use Huff. You know, times are changing here for this ball club. They've
Correct.
got to pull it together. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we've seen 54 games. We got the picture,
We
and now
do.
you got to work on the bench, and you got to give these guys some help. You
Yes.
got to give them some help. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with another couple of books. We'll show it to you.
All right.
One, Eric, you can talk about. I hope it's called The Big Loosh.
Oh yeah, there we
It's
go.
the umpire Ron Luciano, crazy guy. You think Phil Cuzzy's trouble? How about this guy? This guy was always in a fight with Earl Weaver or Billy Martin or somebody else. By the way, Phil Cuzzy did today his thing. He threw Javier
Oh.
Baez, the nicest guy in baseball, out. And then I'll talk about baseball in the Roaring '20s, another very, very good story. And I'll talk about that. So those are a couple that we have coming up. All right, we'll take a break and come back right after this. Fans, joining us is Grant Power, President and CEO of Nations. Grant, last year we talked about the amazing breakfast at Nations. I'm going to ask you this. What's your favorite lunch?
I'm pretty split. I guess I'm kind of like a pitcher who has two favorite pitches they like leaning on. I'd say half the time I do the hamburger and half the time I do the wild salmon burger. It really depends on which protein you want. We love our beef supplier in Northern California. We've been with them for decades. We test our beef all the time. We sell ocean caught wild salmon. Friends don't let friends eat farm salmon. It's absolutely delicious. To mix it up, I guess it's like a pitcher who has a two-seamer and a four-seamer, or maybe a four-seamer and a cutter. I actually go grilled onions on my hamburger half the time and raw onions the other half. Today at lunch, I got the French fries, but half the time I get the onion rings, and I had a wonderful slice of pecan pie. There's something for everybody, whether you like hot dogs or grilled cheese. It's really up to the individual what mood they're in, but my go-to is either the beef with the hamburger or the wild salmon, which is absolutely delicious.
Wow. I love it. Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. Grant, thanks so much.
Pleasure being on.
Fans, great news. If you enjoy Original Joe's, there's a new Original Joe's coming to Walnut Creek, opening late May, early June. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It is going to be fabulous. 300 seats, 13,000 square feet, 3 outdoor patios with 90 outside seats, a full exhibition counter and cocktail lounge. You know, that's the best. And the cocktail lounge will have a multitude of TVs to watch the Giants and the dreaded A's if you want to. It's the first opening of an Original Joe's in 70 years in a new market, and this is really going to be something. 9 years since opening in Westlake, so this is going to be fabulous. It will have a private dining room with accommodations up to 40 people, with its own private bar and patio. It fits Walnut Creek like a glove. This is going to be something else. I can't wait to do some events at the new Original Joe's in Walnut Creek, coming late May, early June. All right, we're back. This is our post-game. Giants lose 3-1 to the Tigers today. And we're talking about some books, which are wonderful baseball books. And we just had Dennis Snelling on, who is the author of The Whiz Kids, which is a good one. Eric, did you have a chance to look at the Luciano book at all?
I was taking some ganders at it just to see what it's. I want to purchase some of these books so I could get a really good understanding. But yeah, this guy, he's something. I remember seeing, you peruse Twitter often, and you'll see a lot of clips between him and Earl Weaver. Right. Oh my God, those are just classic. I think one of his best lines is when he talks about the balk, right? He never understood the rules, so he's like, I never called the balk. And it's just, the guy was a character. I think one of his most famous things, right? He shoots out players, right?
Yeah, shooting runners with his forefinger.
Yeah, there you go. And I guess his record, I think, is 16 shots. His personal record was 16 shots. Again, what's beauty about this? There's character. And doesn't it seem like the game today seems like you kind of lack some of these characters? Oh, it's sanitized.
Especially with the umpires.
Right.
Yeah, the umpire, Eddie Montague, who should be in the Hall of Fame. There's so many who, Phil Cuzzy would be nothing compared to the umpire. Phil Cuzzy somehow injects himself into these games. There's always something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the umpires are totally different today.
Right. It was kind of a breath of fresh air. Remember the last home series, the umpire at first base, and then he was wound up being at home base or home plate afterwards, where he jumped over the player and then gave a little dance. It was just nice. And then he went and caught it wasn't a foul ball or nothing. It just got thrown in the air, and he went out there and caught it and did a little dance as well. So it's like, have some personality. And that, I think, if you want to read something about the baseball in the 80s, right, as far as umpiring, yeah, that would be a great book to read.
Yeah, written by Jim Leake, Leeke, and again put out by Nebraska. But I remember him so well, and it also, I guess, the flamboyant umpires, like Eric says, I mean, the Jocko Conlon of the world, and people like that, they could always do different things. Babe Pinelli. But this Ron Luciano, he was a character. Mm-hmm. He was a character, and he got into it, and they mic'd him up a lot in those days. And
right,
they didn't have any trouble with him. And he has a tragic end to his life, which you read about. And he loved Shakespeare and bird watching.
Yes,
I like bird watching.
There's nothing wrong with bird watching at all.
Yeah, man, in Arizona, birds are our friends here.
Right.
They know when the food's coming. Believe me.
There you go. Right.
All right. This one I just picked up yesterday, and it's by Thomas Wolfe, Wolf. And the Yankees, the Cardinals, and the captivating 1926 season. It's called Baseball in the Roaring
20s. Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to get that one.
What's good about this book is it not only tells you about the way baseball was played then, which you have to understand the game, how it was played in those years, because those are the shoulders that the game has been built on.
Correct.
Without the excitement of 1926 and Grover, Cleveland Alexander coming out of the bullpen half drunk to strike out Tony Lazzeri of the Yankees in the World Series.
The guy looked like he was in his 50s and he was only in his 30s. Yeah.
Really, and he's sleeping in the bullpen because he pitched the day before.
Yeah.
But, it's stories like that that make the game. Make the game. Where 1929, as Dennis Snelling said, this pitcher Howard Emke was pitching for the Philadelphia A's, and he was an old guy. And the Chicago Cubs won the pennant in 1929. So they were going to play against the Philadelphia A's. Well, the Cubs were such a good hitting team, the A's didn't know what to do about pitching. So in September, they said to Howard Emke, this old guy who was on the team, go follow the Cubs for a couple of weeks and see what you can find out. And he did, and he ended up pitching the first. They had him under the stands at the first game of the World Series, warming up. And they brought out Howard Emke. The place was shocked. And he ended up striking out 13 and holding the strikeout record until Carl Erskine broke it in the 50s.
Wow.
It's stories like that. That's what makes baseball. So
Yes.
This book about the Roaring '20s has all those kind of Ty Cobb and, those crazy stories that we love to hear. But it's still the same game,
Yes.
Basically, the DH is a little different, and you got the 10th inning nonsense now, but it's basically the same game, and you get the stories in here. So I think it's pretty good. So
I love the old timey baseball. I just do. It's just something about it. I think you know what it is. I think it's just the characters and the way they went about their business. The baseball stories are absolutely fantastic, but hearing just the characters and who these guys were that were playing the game, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. All right. So that's another one, baseball in the Roaring '20s. Now here's the third one I want to show. This one is really good. I picked this up a few days ago, and it's especially for Giant fans. We hear the name Christy Mathewson all the time. And this book is called, it's the lost life story of Christy Mathewson. And here it is, again, put out by Nebraska. And it's written by Alan Gaff, Gaff. So why is this book good? Well, they did so much research. They found things that were written by Christy Mathewson's wife about his career.
Wow.
And that Christy Mathewson wrote as well, which supplemented, of course, the research that they did. But there's stories in here about Christy Mathewson talking about, John McGraw, and how John McGraw would watch other pitchers and all the idiosyncrasies that McGraw would come up with. So these are names that we see at the ballpark all the time, but don't necessarily know the backstory. Well, This one really gives it to you about Christy Mathewson, who won 373 games and was considered the greatest pitcher.
Didn't he pitch 3 games in a row in the World Series, right?
1905, he pitched 3 shutouts against the A's. It just has one, let's see. If Christy Mathewson didn't exist, baseball would have had to invent him. The game had matured to this point where genuine heroes were needed. Alan Gaff's well-researched book gives us a fresh look at Matty just in time for the centennial of his passing. And the life story of Christy Mathewson, portraits about the player are amplified by original accounts from Jane and several unpublished chapters from Mathewson himself. That's what I found in his voice.
That's great.
That's the other one. Yeah. So we used to do this all the time, and I'd have the actual author on, like we had Dennis on.
Fantastic. You got Garen Boogie says, thankful for you, Marty. There you go.
Yeah. No, it's good because no one else is going to do this. And with the holidays, birthdays coming up, Father's Day, these are wonderful gifts. Wonderful gifts. And of course, you see the hardcover, but it can be, a Kindle or an audio book, you check it out. So, all right.
Yeah,
so
I read John McGraw's book on the computer, on the Google Reads. Yeah. My 30 years in baseball.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's good.
Mhm.
So I like being able to do this on the post game. Look, if you have any thoughts about the Giants today, um, Jay
Yeah,
says
put them
he's
in the chat. Hey, guys,
they're a
if you have any
weaker hitting
questions.
first baseman than our guy.
Yeah. Uh, and
I-
who's our
you
number
know,
2 and 3?
that's for
Uh,
Dan. We need Dan to look this stuff up. He likes to look this stuff up.
I know
Yeah.
we were talking about Hoskins, but the way the Brewers are playing, I don't think they're going to give up Hoskins. It looks like he's
No,
playing to
he's
stick around.
having a good bounce back year. He
He
really
is.
is.
Absolutely.
No, he is.
Same thing with Torkelson. I know a lot of people were talking about Torkelson in the beginning of the year, but there's no way Detroit's moving off of him now. I mean,
Yeah,
Detroit's
Larry
just too.
keeps talking about Vaughn from the White Sox.
Ooh, Andrew Vaughn.
Vaughn. Yeah, the first baseman, Northern California, Santa Rosa kid, first round pick, maybe first pick. I don't know. He was a high pick in the draft for the Sox. Hasn't done much at all.
Right.
Larry keeps talking about him. That could be a Torkelson 2 years ago.
Right.
Right. He's got the power.
A lot of people, and I see Ryan, he's chiming in talking about Mike. Do you think that's a good marriage between the Giants and the Orioles, the orange and the black and the orange? I mean, you think maybe because we got a surplus of starting pitching, they got a surplus of hitters. You think something could happen there maybe in the near future?
They're so buried.
Right.
I don't think they're going to make any crazy moves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think they're going to have to regroup. They're going to have to get a new manager. They're going to have to regroup. So even though that looks like a fit, I think the Colorado, that McMahon guy. That's a possibility. I think that's a real possibility for the Giants.
Nice. That wouldn't be so bad. And I think you should be able to get him fairly cheap, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, and you've got people that could be moved for him. I would look at Colorado a little bit and see if there's anything there. Cole Dunston has got McMahon to play second base. Yeah.
Yes.
Look, as I said before, Angels have signed Chris Taylor. Okay.
How you doing, Cole?
He's in center field today.
Do you see any panic people, or I shouldn't say panic, but people panicking about wanting to call up Bryce Eldridge? Because that's another thing that I could see on the horizon. People are maybe clamoring for the emergence of Bryce. It's too early, I think.
Too early, but look, it's not crazy.
Okay.
If this was the middle of August and he had his whole minor league season in, and we really saw, he's not striking out at 30% or 35% or something like that. Look at James Wood. They gave him a shot, and 2 years later, the guy is a real force.
Right.
As this season plays out, they've got to do something at first base. They have to. But I don't think Eldridge gives him enough time yet to make that kind of move for him. Not yet. And defensively, who's ever worked with him, whether it's Will Clark or Woe or any of the people, JT Snow, they'll tell you defensively he's got a ways to go. This Encarnacion thing is going to be interesting. Put him at first base. I mean, Wade is a good first baseman.
Yeah, his glove is decent.
First base is an important position. You got to dig the ball out. Adames, throws a lot in the dirt. Chapman will hit you in the chest, and Fitzgerald generally can throw it to you, but he's going to have to deal with shortstop.
Correct.
And he's going to have to make something happen. That's going to be an interesting transition. That's why Casey Schmidt should get playing time now. He's only got another week till Encarnacion gets here, but Schmidt, more than likely, I guess, will be the guy who goes down.
And he's been playing a pretty decent first base, right?
Look,
it's serviceable.
You got him here. Play him. The guy you have playing is hitting 160 for 54 games.
Right.
So
correct. It's time. And what do you think?
I like the comments.
Yeah. Oh, Jay's asking, Sabian traded for JT Snow. What would Sabes do now?
Well, he would get in there. First, he'd get in there and tell them to move their ass. Look, unless you guys start playing, I'm not doing a damn thing.
Right. You got to make the case for me to go make moves, right?
He would love the pitching. Dick Tidrow, they would love the pitching, but I'll guarantee you he would go out and get a couple of hitters.
Right. Giants got two 40-man spots open. One of them's probably going to be for Gerard Encarnacion. Who do you think they put into that 40th position on the 40-man?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Know.
Just keeping it.
Yeah. George Corey says
Mayo has 2 less home runs than Luciano. Mayo's overrated. Can't hit at the MLB. Again, the kid in Baltimore.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, Luciano, what's up with him? We haven't heard anything about him.
I think he was in the news a couple of days ago. Had a big game, 2 home runs, but his strikeout percentage is still up there.
Is he worse than Matos?
It's like 35% supposedly. And Sacramento is a strikeout, batting 228. Yeah. The guys in Sacramento, there's really nobody in Sacramento.
Yeah,
there's no cavalry coming right now. There's no cavalry.
A lot of pitching, no hitting.
Yeah, a lot of pitching.
All right. Giants lose 3-1 game 1. I wanted them 8-4, Eric, on this 12-game stretch here.
Right.
They got 1-2 and 1-2. What, to Kansas City?
Yeah.
1-2 to Kansas City, and then 2-1 in Washington. So it's at 3-3. So are they 3-4 now?
Yes.
Can they win the next 5?
It's going to be tough.
Hey, the Marlins, they're going to get Ryan Weathers' kid.
Mm-hmm.
He is the kid, David Weathers' son. He's pitching today. I don't know if people have I've lost track of the time, but he's pitching against. He's pitching for the Marlins today.
Let's see if I can get an update here.
Cabrera pitched yesterday.
Right.
And they're going to get him Friday, and he pitched a great game yesterday.
Right.
They're going to get some pitching this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to get some pitching this weekend, but they'll have Ray and Harrison this weekend too,
which is good, right?
Yeah.
And I hope the Giants. I was talking about this last night. It would be nice, maybe after the All-Star break, set up the rotation of Ray and Webb, or Webb and Ray as your 1 and 2, just so when you get into some of these series, you got 2 guys, that give you a good shot to win the series.
Yeah.
George. Yeah. Giants should trade Hicks.
Suzuki may be the best player in the league.
He's great. I don't see the Cubs. Why would they move off Suzuki? I don't see it.
No, the Cubs can win.
Cubs are they're playing some really good baseball.
Offense. They need some pitching, but they're not going to give up anything like Suzuki for to get some pitching. But yeah, I like the comments.
Anthony's asking a question. Who is Joe? I don't know. I don't know if that's supposed to be Jose Perez.
I don't know. One of the minor leaguers. I've heard the name.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got another couple of books to show you. One is really interesting. If you want.
The Ancient Wisdom of Baseball. Look at that.
This one is definitely different. I want to tell you. People send me.
Is it? All right.
Yeah. It's written by Christian Shepherd. It's put out by Greenleaf Press. But wait till I tell you about what this is about.
Wow, I'm gonna have to.
The ancient wisdom of baseball. So we're talking Babe Ruth being compared to Achilles or something like that. It's really, it's interesting. All right, we'll talk about that right after this.
Hello again, Marty Lurie here to talk to you about my good friends at Georgie Brothers, the largest family-owned furniture store in the entire Bay Area. Right now, and good through May 26th, you can save hundreds of dollars on my favorite line of furniture, Stressless. I own Stressless furniture in my home, and I can tell you it's the most comfortable place to sit in my house. Visit them at GeorgieBrothers.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. Remember, tell them that Marty sent you. It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, ROBBEN, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are known as granny units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com.
All right. Giants lose 3-1. JK says,
Yeah.
rally killer, the most unclutched player I've seen. You're right.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Look,
He's not
they
wrong.
figured him out, and he just can't touch that soft stuff away.
No, he
Just
can't.
He can't do it. You give him something hard over the plate, he can hit it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll go the other way. He'll go to right center and all that stuff. But boy, I feel for the guy. He's a nice
Right.
guy.
He is.
But
Great guy.
they
Great
made him-
clubhouse. Yeah.
They kind of made him the guy.
Right.
He's not the guy.
No,
He's just not that kind of guy.
no, he's not.
No,
He's
a
the.
player.
You've talked about this before about carriers in the past. I think it was it.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, me. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. And he's not right now. The Giants don't have a carrier, so to
No,
speak.
it's the carriers and contributors. And,
That's it. Yep.
And that's Greg Orr, the great scout for the Yankees, taught me that.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not a carrier.
No.
And they need him to be a carrier.
Correct. He's being paid to be a carrier.
All right. Anthony's bringing us some smoked salmon. All right, I like that.
Oh, look at that. Uh-oh.
All right,
There you go.
That. All right, this book, The Ancient Wisdom of Baseball.
I got to hear about this one.
Yeah. Wait, Eric, you got to take a look at this. In The Ancient Wisdom of Baseball, author Christian Shepherd interweaves Homer's epics with the memorable stories from the green fields of America's pastime. So it's got that kind of language in it.
Wow.
Celebrating Achilles' courage and Odysseus' cunning, along with the virtues of Hall of Fame players such as Jackie Robinson and Babe Ruth, and of historic teams such as the 2004 Red Sox and Cubs. So it's taking the drama of the
Greek
mythological
Yes.
characters and their personalities and putting that into baseball players.
There you go. Wow. Interesting. I bet you
It is.
Fleming would love that one, Dave.
Yeah, it is Joseph Campbell. Yeah, that's good for Dave. It's Joseph Campbell and the Power of Myth meets Ken Burns' baseball, embodied in an entertaining re-examination of what we can learn from the heroism of the ancient Greeks and our modern sports heroes. I'm going to read this one.
I'm gonna have to get that one. That one sounds
Along the
interesting.
way, Shepard humorously recollects trying to raise his baby daughter true to the teachings of ancient myth and baseball. How about that? Let's see how he does that.
Okay.
The result is an endearing, insightful, and inspiring guide to cultivating virtue and becoming the hero of your own life's odyssey. So that's it,
Wow.
the ancient wisdom of baseball. I think he may be an interesting person to have on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? I like that. That is quite interesting. That intrigues me. Using Greek mythology
Yeah,
for baseball.
on the back, it's got a little thing
Sure.
from Theo Epstein. For those who love baseball, the game holds deep personal meaning and echoes to the past that are undeniable but often hard to articulate. Christian Shepherd's The Ancient Wisdom of Baseball is a love letter to baseball that explains its connections to our inner lives and to classical lore in a way that makes one pine for opening day.
Wow.
The
How
ancient
about
wisdom.
the ancient
Yeah.
wisdom of baseball?
All right, and the last one for today, the one we had Bill Madden on.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a great interview.
Hall of Fame baseball writer, a baseball memoir by Bill Madden, Yankees, typewriters, scandals, and Cooperstown. And he goes into every part of his professional life in baseball in those areas, and really good. I love having him on.
He was
Bill
great
Madden,
telling the stories about he was pretty fast as a sprinter, right?
yeah, Triumph. Yeah, that's good. Good memory. And
Yeah.
also, he did the back of the baseball cards for Donruss, the Kings, and all that stuff. Those special cards that they put out.
His story about DiMaggio, that was a great story.
Yeah, really good. So that's the last one. You want to get this one.
Yes.
This one is a classic.
I got his book, 1954. That was a great book. Talking
Love
about
it.
that race in 54. It was a great book.
Love it. Love it. So that's those are the books. I like doing the book. It's good, isn't it, Eric? This is
Yeah, I
fun.
love. Yeah. And
If
because
you're
some of
watching,
the
give me a comment. Do you like the book stuff?
yeah, if you leave a comment or in the chat, leave a comment. How do you guys like the talking about the books? This is great. I think baseball is probably one of the biggest sports that is written about. I mean, because there's just so much.
It's the only one.
Right.
You know, you'll get a football book here and there, you know, a basketball book here and there, but you know, I have 35 books here.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
that people, you know, publishers will send me, and for me to bring them to you is very important. So yeah.
Cole says he likes it a lot. That's really cool. All right. Nebraska University, they seem to be like the front runner in baseball.
Yeah, McFarland, Triumph is good. Giants have been involved with so many pitching duels. That's Robert Rothberg. I know every game is the same. And look, tomorrow, Jack Flaherty and Webb, right? Isn't that tomorrow?
Yes. Yep. Jack Flaherty was their big offseason pickup for the Tigers, and of course Webb is our ace. Well, yeah, we'll say co-ace. He's still throwing the ball really well, but Robbie Ray, whew.
Yeah, Anthony likes the Ronnie Lott book. Yeah, you'll find football books that are good. You will.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for all sorts of varied subjects, baseball has definitely got it.
Oh, it does.
Right. So, Eric, let's wrap up today's game. Go ahead.
Giants, unfortunately, they lose a tough one in Detroit. First game of the 3-game series. Birdsong looked pretty good. Unfortunately, he could run into a little bit of trouble there in the 5th. Eric Miller came in and didn't get the job done. Detroit was able to put 3 runs on the board. Giants only were able to scrounge 1 run. They had a shot. Right. They had a shot. They had some rally killers in there. Jay, I remember what you said. Willie, the rally killer, Adamas. Unfortunately, there was a couple of times he came up during the game and just he couldn't get it done.
Eric, what can you do with him?
You
give
can't
him a day off.
Give him a day off, right? That's all you really can do.
Put him in the line. I mean, you got to ride with him, don't you?
You have to. There's no cavalry coming. This is the guy you spent $182 million on, and he's going to be out there more times than not, of course. And he's going to have to figure it out. And it seems like wherever they put him in the lineup, that spot in the lineup comes up when they need him to come through. So it's tough. You either stack the top of the lineup or you maybe intersperse some guys. But then again, that's not really effective. But yeah, there's some of these guys. We got, specifically 4 guys. You got Chapman, Adamas, Wade, and Bailey. Those guys, that's four guys in a lineup that are not getting it done. And the Giants aren't going to win if you keep having these guys coming out there batting close to 100.
You may be able to hang with Washington and Kansas City and the A's and teams like that, but this season will be determined, and I've said this on the show, how they do in the division. The division scores runs. Score runs. Colorado can score runs.
Yes, they can. Their pitching isn't so good.
Julio likes our book segments.
Yes. Good. Need 2 shows a week, please, he says.
Okay, maybe. We'll see. It'll be the division. You got to score to beat the Dodgers.
Yes.
You got to score to beat Arizona. We saw that already. 10-6, 8-7.
Right.
And then you're going to have to score to beat Colorado in Colorado.
Yep.
And San Diego, we've seen them already.
Yep.
So that's going to tell the story. You can go 3-1, 2-0, 4-2, and all that kind of stuff against, the Brewers and some teams maybe that don't hit the ball.
Mhm.
The Marlins, Pittsburgh.
Right.
But you're going to get into these games where you got to win in the division.
Mhm.
And
you got to be able to hit. You're going to have to. Even though the Giants got the great pitching, right? There's going to be times when you're going against these slugging teams, as you said, the Dodgers,
they played
the
9
Diamondbacks.
games. They played 3 with Arizona, 4 with Colorado, 2 with San Diego. They
Right.
played 9. That means they got 43 to go.
Right.
So 43 out of 108. So that's a good 40% of your schedule left.
That
within
is
the
significant.
division. And that's the deal. You're going to have to. They're going to have to get the hitting straight before they get into the meat of the division schedule.
Absolutely. Dallas, he chimes in again. What's up, Dallas? Says, got to score to beat anyone. 0 or 1 runs. Don't beat the White Sox or the Dodgers.
No, I'm telling you, that's the difference.
Yep.
Yeah, Flaherty. Yeah, Sweeney for Flaherty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see
Sweeney-
Jay. Dodgers coughed up shortstop Sweeney for Flaherty. Then on offseason signed Flaherty anyway. What a deal. Yeah.
You may see Cossett short.
Maybe
They may give him a break.
they have to.
Well, they're off
Good.
Thursday, so maybe Wednesday. They give him Wednesday off.
Give him
And
2 days
Thursday,
off.
ready for the Marlins, something like that.
That makes a lot of sense. He's got to take a breather. Then they can maybe work on some stuff without having to go into a game. But and then Jay says that Koss has been, and he has been. That's one thing that Koss has been when they need to get a hit. A lot of times he comes, and even if it's a bunt hit or even just advancing a runner, I like what I've seen in young Koss.
Yeah. As Robert says, there are various games where the Giants scored multiple runs. Yeah, there were some.
There is.
But, look, they've gone a week. I keep my book.
There's your
day,
book.
the book of life. The book of life. And I keep the offense every day.
Well, here's a question to ask you, Marty. We're talking about books. I'll have to put you on the spot. Are you ever going to write a book? You ever thought about it?
No.
No.
We have AmericanInnings.org.
Yes.
I've got a lot of interviews there.
You do. A lot of your
That's-
stuff is interview. I guess you could say your work is interviews and stuff. Yeah.
Archive and Love of the Game productions and stuff.
Right.
It would take too much effort to write a book.
It's a lot. It does take a lot.
I'd rather talk about it.
There
But
you
look
go.
at this.
Yeah.
This goes back to Severino, right? This is the second A's game. So
Okay.
was that last Saturday night? 5 hits, 6 hits, 8 hits, 7 hits, 3 hits, 5 hits, and 5 today.
Ooh,
That's a rough stretch.
that's a rough stretch. It
Yeah,
is.
Stretch. So they got to do something
They-
different.
Right. They're going to. And
It's rearranging the chairs on the Titanic, though. I mean, there's not a hell of a lot they can do.
correct. Right.
There
You're not going to change out third base or shortstop, first or second base. I mean,
Only
the
May.
outfield is. Yeah, it's only May. Yeah.
It's only May, and you can pitch, so you're in all. You don't look as bad as you think. 'Cause you're in
Correct.
it, you're fighting for every game, and you're going to win a lot of these games.
Mhm.
Then you're going to lose some of them.
Right.
But you got to have a lineup that you can rely on. That's
Consistency. The consistency. Right.
Yeah.
That's.
that when you put a guy in the lineup, what you're going to get. And
Mhm.
we haven't figured that out yet.
And Jay chimes in, says Giants have been playing 500 baseball the last 6 weeks. They're a
Yeah.
500 team.
Yeah.
That's what they are right now. That's who they are right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our show for today.
Yes.
I like it. Ryan, great job. Ryan, you there?
Yeah, I think he's out. He's in the chat. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Ryan was great.
Way to go, Ryan. Yeah, he set it all up. Way to go.
Very nice. Eric, good to have you on today.
Thank you.
When's your next show?
I'll go on a little bit later tonight, and we'll do another post game, and get some more chat involvement, just like how we do on here.
Good. All right. I appreciate it. All right. So
You
we'll
betcha.
just like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. There you go.
we'll get our next show up and tell you when that is. So yeah, I like doing this, and we'll try to
Yeah.
do more the Sunday post game. I like.
Yeah, it's great. And also, guys, make sure you give Marty a follow on X, Twitter, because you'll see a lot of the announcements of what's going to happen here on YouTube. Yeah, Ryan does a great job with that, and you're always on there on Twitter. So make sure you can follow at Marty, right? At Marty Baseball, I think is what it is.
At Baseball Marty.
At Baseball Marty. So give him a follow on X and Twitter, and you'll see a lot of the announcements on there as well.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.
All right. And to finish it out, Marty, I'm just going to do a little tribute to Memorial Day.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We'll just close it out with it. Guys, let's not forget what Memorial Day is about. Yeah, is it nice to go out there and barbecue and enjoy time with friends and family? Absolutely. But let's not forget, a lot of people have lost their lives defending the country all over the world. So let's not forget the ultimate sacrifice that service members have given for the greatness of this country.
Beautiful.
All right, there we go.
Nice, Eric.
Thank
What's your military background?
I did 21 years active duty in the Air Force. So I was able to experience a lot of different things, right? Deployed a few times, and that's just it's unique when anyone who signs on the dotted line, and again, the greatness of this country is no one forces you to have to go serve. It's a commitment that the individual has to put in to serve your country. And look, at the Air Force, the time I had in the Air Force was absolutely remarkable. Met some great people, and I'll never forget it. And it's just something that is it's hard to describe with words, and being able to put on the uniform and serve, but it's something that I will never forget. I'll always cherish.
Nice. I'm glad you did it. Eric,
Thank you,
from Beale Air Force Base.
Yeah, that was me. I tell you, once I came back from Germany, I was like, I got to get back into my Giants again. And, I got back into KMBR, and then I heard you. I was like, oh, this is great. I got to call in. I love talking baseball. And then, and that's where we both, came in contact with each other. I'd call in and just talk baseball. It was fantastic. Love it.
Yep. Eric from Beale Air Force Base. Raf,
yep.
We'd put you on every time.
Raf knew me. It's funny. Every time I called and Raf would say, hey, this is Eric from Beale. It's like, hey, Eric. Yeah, Raf is a great guy.
Isn't he?
Great guy. He is.
And I work so hard. I'd love to have him on some of these shows.
Oh, yeah, you should. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to hear just his take on what it's like, covering the Giants behind, the blowtorch of KMBR.
Yeah. They're moving studios.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, there's a whole thing going on.
Gotcha.
They're moving to Daly City or something. So
wow.
We'll see how this week goes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you kind of to move a studio. It's like in the military, it's like moving
it's not easy, right?
There's a lot to move,
and you'll have a lot of glitches in the way too. It just happens.
All right. Well, I was in the Army Reserves.
Oh,
ER.
No kidding.
1968 to 1974.
Hey, all right. Fantastic.
MS 1110. I think I was a cook.
Oh, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. There's
No,
nothing wrong with that.
no, I've been at
Absolutely.
Fort Anniston. No, Fort McClellan in Anniston, Alabama.
Oh, okay. Ooh, it was hot and
Stewart
humid
in-
there.
Fort Stewart in Georgia. Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Nice. Wow. A lot of those bases are still around as well.
Yeah, yeah, it was an experience. I
Right
got to
on.
meet a lot of people. I'm glad I did it.
Right. That's great. Exactly. Yeah, you make some relationships. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I didn't know
we,
Ryan. I didn't know Ryan was a reservist. Right on. What are you a reservist in, Ryan? I didn't know that. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
The movie, yes. My movie is there's a documentary.
I saw. When is that coming out?
Well, that's a good question. It took Ben-Hur shorter to be made than this documentary. The rough cut I've seen. It's terrific. If you go to Baseball Mensch, MENSCH.com, baseballmensch.com, you'll see the trailer and you get an idea of what the documentary is. But it's my career in baseball, law, growing up in Brooklyn, and all that kind of stuff. So
That is great. Here you go. There's, all you got to do is you type in Baseball Minch, the Marty Lurie story, and there it is. That is
amazing.
Great.
Yeah. So there's a whole movie coming out. It's a whole documentary. And so, as I said to Randy Field, who's doing it, I said, look, seriously, Cecil B. DeMille got stuff done faster than you guys. And it's all just speaking, we're not blowing up anything.
Right.
We don't have food scenes. We don't have planes crashing. There's, come on. It's just interviews, basically, telling a story.
That's great. When was it? I'm guessing all of it has been filmed. Is that?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was up here for the Italian American Bar Association, he filmed me making my speech and getting the Kosher Golden Salami Award. I got. And then when I did the Uncle Abe Award last year, he was there to film that.
Wow. That is great.
Yeah. So, it'll be at the Vogue Theater when it comes out. I've already lined it up.
Is this going to be it's going to be on the big screen, or is it going to be released also on?
Well, it'll be on streaming, but we're going to have it in the theater too.
That is great. Oh, wow. That's great. I'm going to have to go watch that. How long is it going to be about, if you know? Is it going to be about an hour and a half, right around there?
Well, I saw 70 minutes of it already.
Oh, great.
It's not done. So I would think it's probably 90 minutes, I would think.
Perfect. That's great.
Yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to have the director come on one of these shows and,
people who participated really were nice to do. I mean, you're talking Greg Papa, Bonte, Will Clark, Joe Garagiola Jr., John Miller, Tim Flannery, Woe, these are
wow. That's awesome.
Different lawyers, Michael Gaines,
Oh, okay.
Chuck Smith, Emily DeFala, Sonny Schwartz. And I'm telling you, it's incredible when I watch it.
That is great. I can't wait. Yeah, because I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, wow, this is good.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good. All right. This is fun. Yeah, Michael was a lawyer. Michael Gaines is a big-time defense lawyer. Yeah, Michael and I practiced together. We started practice together in 71.
And is that where you guys' relationship began?
We knew each other in Miami Beach.
Okay.
From about age 14 on.
Oh, wow.
We've been talking baseball for a long time.
Wow. That is great.
Yeah, Michael and I can talk some ball.
I bet. And did you guys both practice in the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did together for a couple of years, and he had his own practice and I had mine. Okay. So we've done capital cases together.
Ooh.
And Ryan's grandma, who's a judge, who was a judge, I appeared before her in Marin.
Oh, no kidding. Hi, how about that? Look at that. Small world, isn't it?
Yeah, when Ryan told me her name, I said, really? God, she remembers me.
Wow, how about that?
You should.
There you go.
Funny world.
It is. It is. It's amazing how everything is just interconnected. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, boy. All right, Ryan, we love you. Good job.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, Eric, thank you. All right, so we'll talk during the week.
That sounds great. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right.
Take care.
I like the close.
Thank you kindly. Enjoy the next week. We've got a whole bunch of baseball to speak on here at Marty and